I told this over at the field earlier, but it's important to me that I express my thanks to everybody for coming out and give you a little bit of background on who we are. So, my name is Jimmy Hatch, and I was a SEAL for a long time in the Navy. I did a lot of missions to all over the world. The last few years of my time in the Navy, I was a SEAL that worked with dogs, and I had my life saved on multiple occasions by many of the dogs I worked with. The logo that we have here, looks like I got some pizza close to it, but didn't soil it. So this is a picture of me and my first dog, Spike, who I got in 2005. And each of these stars represents a dog that I worked with that was killed in combat. And Spike was killed in Iraq in 2006 on the 23rd of December. And I called my wife on Christmas Eve to let her know that he'd been killed. I am overwhelmed when I come to a place like this and have people who are essentially complete strangers, Heather, thank you, and Katie, who use their valuable resources, their time, and their social abilities to invite people out to help support this cause. So what is the cause? Spike's Canine Fund does a couple of things for me personally. It's the impetus behind all of this. Dogs, there are no mass graves anywhere in the world full of dogs that were put there by other dogs. Only humans do that kind of shit to each other. However, we do bring dogs into our world to help us solve problems with other humans. And because of that, it's important to me that we take care of them. Having seen dogs die, saving my life and the lives of my friends, and then hearing about it on the regular from police all over the country. 2009, I got shot up on a rescue mission. A bullet went into my femur here. I watched the dog who was protecting us get shot in front of me about where that chair is. He found some guys in a ditch. They shot him in the head and blew him backwards. I started shooting the guy that was responsible for shooting the dog. His buddy panicked like the Taliban always do and just started spraying his gun. One of the bullets hit me in the leg and blew my femur out the backside of my leg. I fell on the ground screaming. My buddies finished the gunfight, stopped me from bleeding to death. The helicopters who dropped us off in the fight came back and got me, and that's no small thing. They knew what they were coming back into. Basically, at the point I got shot, I was a witness to the American spirit, man. And I saw people do amazing things to save my ass. And then over the years afterwards, as I struggled both physically and more importantly psychologically, complete strangers stepped in and helped me in dramatic ways. So I already owed the dogs, but I hadn't really got to that place yet. After I got wounded, I was flown back to the States. I laid in a hospital room looking at the ceiling and thinking about all the things that I'd done wrong. I was certain that I had caused the mission to fail. We didn't rescue the person that we were trying to rescue. And I felt like it was because I got the dog killed and I got shot, and at that point the mission had to slow down so they could get the screaming guy out of there and stop him from bleeding to death. I was also obviously very emotionally connected to the dogs. Spike, my first dog, was killed in Iraq, like I mentioned, in 2006, and I had sent him to bite a guy who was the head of a suicide bomber ring that they brought in teenagers from different parts of the Middle East and trained him up to be suicide bombers. At any rate, I sent the dog after him. Spike weighed 62 pounds. He hit the guy. The guy was quite a bit bigger than me. The guy started fighting him, took him to the ground. I put some bullets into the guy. One of the bullets went through and into Spike, and it killed him. So he was my best friend, and I killed him. So we all have it. You don't know if you don't think you do right now, but we all have a backpack on, and in that backpack goes all these things in our life that we just don't want to deal with. And they fill up. And at some point, you're going to have to deal with those things in that backpack. And I dealt with it in the hospital, looking at the ceiling. All that stuff came out. I couldn't remember any of the good things that I'd done, anything that I was proud of. All I could think about were the difficulties, the hard things where I'd failed or at least perceived that I'd failed. So I didn't really have any hope. And there's no prescription for hope. Felt like I'd been put on this earth to do what I was doing in the military. And when I could no longer do that, there was really no reason for me to stick around. So one day, after taking some of my pain meds and washing it down with Stolies, not a good choice, kids, if you ever think about that kind of stuff seriously. It's a bad combination. Unfortunately, it's not all that infrequent in the veteran community. At any rate, I decided I didn't want to be around anymore, so I took my gun, walked out in the driveway in my backyard next to my garbage cans, stuck the gun in my mouth. I was going to blow my head off. I was crying, really upset. My wife came out, got the gun away from me. Look, I know how to use a gun. I could have pulled the trigger. I just didn't want to be around anymore, and I couldn't figure out any other way to stop being a problem for those around me. So she got the gun away from me. She ran in the house. I heard her. She called my unit and said, "Hey, man, this is what's going on." And they said, "Listen, you need to call the police because we can't get there quick enough, and somebody needs to get control of him because he can cause some problems." So I heard her on 911 telling him who I was and that I'd been involved in all this violence, and I thought, okay, cool, the cops are coming over, man. When they get here, they're going to want to be tough guys, and I like violence. And maybe I can, we can brawl a little bit, and I can get them to shoot me in the head because I didn't do it. Well, guess what? They show up, and I'm watching them. I'm sitting on my stoop, and I was watching them walk up, and they were pros. One guy was looking at me. The other guy was looking around the house. They were obviously younger than me. They came walking up, and they were humble and kind. And the cops call it, I've learned because I've done some speeches for different police departments all over the country, they call it verbal judo. Well, that shit worked on me. Next thing I know, we're talking about baseball. My buddies from my unit came and grabbed me, and they take me away to the psych hospitals. I spent about 6 months in psychiatric facilities where I learned a lot. One cool thing about psychiatric facilities is you have wide open conversations. Nobody can hide anything because you're all in a damn psych ward. It's really refreshing, actually. You don't spend your time like we are right now comparing my insides to everybody's outsides. You all know everybody's insides, and you're like, yeah, we're all fucked up, so it doesn't matter, which is great. It's a little bit liberating. At any rate, when I got done with that, I came back to my home in Norfolk, Virginia, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself. I joined the military the day I turned 17, and I wasn't what you'd call academically ambitious. So when I got done with my psychiatric treatments, I tried to find different jobs. Didn't really work out for me. I was used to working at a very intense and high level, and I just didn't feel that. So I went to the police department, actually, that had come to my home the night that I was injured. And Anne Marie, who is our employee, she's in by the stuff inside. She just joined us full time. She used to be a part-time employee, but she just left the police force to work for us full time. It was Norfolk, Virginia. And I said, hey guys, I'd like to help you guys with your dogs. I've been in lots of combat with dogs. I found real bombs. I've been in a lot of gunfights with dogs. And they said, yeah, we know who you are. And yeah, we can use your help. They didn't need my help, but they knew I needed somebody to put their arm around me and make me feel like I was, needed or at least valued. So I started working with them, and one of the dogs got injured and had a pretty significant injury. And this dog had done quite a bit for the community. And the word got to me that the city was not going to pay for this dog to get this surgery that he needed. And I was shocked that that was even a discussion, especially, a guy like me where dogs saved my life, and whatever they need, we're going to make it happen. So I took a picture of me and my dog Spike and went to a friend who knows how to do this thing called Photoshop. We put this logo together. I put them on sweatshirts, and I got on Facebook. I said, hey man, I'm trying to raise money for these dogs. And I didn't realize how much people like dogs. So I made a lot of money. Not a lot. I mean, like $6,000, which to me was holy shit. So I had enough money to pay for the cop to travel with the dog to NC State and for the dog to get the surgery. And I had money left over, and that's how we started. That was in 2015. Shortly thereafter, Emily, who's our CEO, she was the superstar volunteer. She got involved. When she got involved as a volunteer, there was no way in hell I was going to stand up here and talk about any of this stuff in front of anyone. I didn't like civilians. I didn't trust you. I felt like I was a monster because I enjoyed going overseas and killing people that I thought had it coming. I just didn't know how to deal with the civilian population, and frankly, I was afraid. I didn't realize, again, there's a lot I didn't realize. So Emily's kind of been my coach. You call people life coaches or whatever, but this young lady, I remember one night, we're sitting at a bar after an event, not unlike this. And in our debriefs in the SEAL team, when we got done with a mission, we didn't sit and pat each other on the back. We tore each other up. Even if the mission was a success, there were things that we could do better or that we had done wrong. And we didn't say, hey, great job. That just never happened. So one night, we're sitting there, Emily's having her sangria. I don't know what I was drinking, and I'm like, we got to do better. We got to do this and this and this. And I look over, and she's just sitting there, tears start running down her face. And I'm like, what? She's like, can't we just one time say we did a good job? I'm like, holy shit, yeah, I guess we could. So I'm just transitioning to the civilian world. At any rate, Emily helped me. I started giving speeches. We started doing more things like this, and I started telling my story, and I realized how important it was. Not because it was me, but because during my service, I worked with a team We took care of one another to keep each other alive. And when I got hurt, strangers took care of me. My friends, they weren't social workers. They just didn't want to leave me alone. They kept showing up. And at some point I had to admit that I must have something to offer if these guys keep coming. They don't even know what to say to me. They just didn't want me to be hopeless anymore. We're all in this shit together, man. And we're all walking each other home. And when I come to these types of events, I think it's important to have somebody stand up and talk about A, mental health stuff, B, what our mission is. The mission is to help the dogs. Every working dog in the United States that works for a community or for our nation, we want to make sure when they go to work they have exactly what they need to be effective and safe. And we want to make sure that they're taken care of medically until they cross over the Rainbow Bridge and move on. They deserve it. They didn't volunteer. I was a volunteer in the military. The cops are volunteers. Search and rescue handlers are volunteers. Dogs aren't volunteers, man. They're just born with a set of skills. And we bring them into our world to help us solve problems. It's important that we take care of them. It's cool to be a part of a nonprofit for two reasons. One, you can't be a socialist. He wouldn't exist. And two, it's a positive place. It's easy to get negative and cynical, but when people show up on a Labor Day weekend to hang out, drink a beer or two, listen to some great music, eat some good food, and drop a couple of bucks in the bucket for us, it's hard to be depressed about that. And it seems like we live in a really rough time right now, politically, culturally, but these types of events are the real America, and I'm grateful for it. I also owe the cops. Pretty tough to be a cop right now. I'm 55 years old, and I can't remember a tougher time. They deserve to hear that from somebody. I actually came up with a little saying after I got my shit together enough. The cops motivated this. Never underestimate your ability to affect the trajectory of another human life, especially at their most vulnerable moment. I'm gonna say that again. Never underestimate your ability to affect another human's life, especially at their most vulnerable moment. Man, we're in this together. Those guys took care of me. I'm standing here because of those guys. I'm also one of the oldest undergraduates at Yale University. I've tried to cure that academic phobia I had. I get to raise money, help dogs. We've helped dogs in 50 states, over 2,000. I'm a very fortunate guy, and it's because those cops did what they did, and my buddies did what they did, and you're doing what you do. We can't do this without your help. We have 25,000-ish working canines in the United States. 20,000 or so are police dogs. The rest are search and rescue or military dogs. They deserve everything we can give them. And when we help the dogs, we help our communities, we help our country, and we help each other. We got dogs that we're going to bring out, and you can hang out with. Dewey, he's asleep. He's getting some rest, but he's our little Frenchie. And then I have Mina here, and then we have Willow, who's a golden retriever. We'll bring them around, but you guys know how dogs are with each other, or with people. They just make us better. Did I miss anything, Emily?
There's a raffle. One ticket for $5, 5 for $20.
One ticket for $5.